Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you didn't know, I didn't get ball. I actually got Chi-Chi'd.
Okay. Oh my god, I'm so scared.
And I've been saying in streams that no matter who I end up pulling as my next 5-star, I will build them in time. But before I try to make a main DPS Chi-Chi, I want to talk about another character that's actually on the banner. And as you can see, that's Xiangling, who a lot of people have been talking about lately. She's actually a very, very good character. I feel like I've slept on Xiangling for so long. She's actually a really busted character. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you my extremely busted Xiangling build. So my Xiangling right now is a whopping level 40 out of 50. If we look at her ratio, she has a 40 crit rate to 87 crit damage, 226 energy recharge, and it is very necessary to have a lot of energy recharge on her. Her weapon, she is running an R2 prototype Star Glitter, mostly for the energy recharge. Her artifact set is what I would put on Ball if I had her. 4-piece emblem set, which actually works really, really well for her. And that's why I also have that high energy recharge, because if you look at the 4-piece set here, it increases my elemental burst damage by 25% of my total energy recharge. Looking at the pieces themselves, as you can see, there's a couple of them that are actually really good. Like my flower and my feather here are really, really good. And then I have my energy recharge sands, which I want to raise so I can get even more energy recharge. I have a pyro damage goblet and a crit rate helm. And then if I go ahead and look at the talents, a whopping 2-1-1. And the only reason why the normal attack is at a 2 is because Child right now is in the party, and Child actually gives 1 extra level to the normal attacks of characters. And if I look at the constellations, she's currently at C2. I do have the C3 unlocked, but for this video in particular, I wanted to not activate that as to not get the talent upgrade just yet. I wanted to keep this at 1-1-1 for this video specifically, just to show you how busted this character really is. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It's probably because I have an all-star lineup to go along with her, and you're not wrong here. I have Xiangling, I have Bennett, Tartaglia, and Kazuha here. I'm obviously using Bennett to buff the attack of the entire team, as well as his healing with his Q. He is running an Aquila Favonia to help his base attack and be able to do more healing and more attack boost. Typical standard set of a 4-piece noblesse. Some of the artifacts are really garbage and they're just here for the set overall though. Talents are 2, 7, and 10. Constellation 5 will never activate Constellation 6. Next up on the team, we have Tartaglia, also known as Child here. And so he's level 79. He has a Skyward Harp, which is one of his best weapons for sure. He has a 2-piece Heart Adept and 2-piece Gladiators. These actually are pretty good together. His overall ratio is 50 to 194. So he's really good. He's pretty much the main carry here. His talents are 7, 7, and 7. Constellation 0. And then finally, Kazuha here. He is level 90 out of 90, and I'm using Kazuha here for his Qs. That way we get the Elemental Mastery buff. He's rocking the Amanoma sword, the craftable sword from Inazuma. Artifacts is a 4-piece Viridescent set. I only have 1 Elemental Mastery piece on him, and I believe that is the Sands right here. The other ones have substats of Elemental Mastery, but I have not had any luck getting main stat Elemental Mastery pieces. Constellation 0, talent levels are 9, 8, and 8. And so if you don't know why this team is actually really good, it's because Xiangling and her Pyronado, which is her ultimate, actually synergizes super well with Tartaglia and his melee stance, and they're able to trigger vaporizes very quickly and efficiently. And maybe for those who don't have Tartaglia, or if you don't have Kazuha, there are other options. I actually have run this with Xingqiu, and running his Q and Xiangling's Q at the same time is extremely powerful. And if you don't have Kazuha, you can actually use Sucrose instead of him. So to show off how this team actually works together, I'm gonna go ahead and do floor 12, chamber 1, which I believe is actually the hardest on the first half because of those samurai. And I'm just gonna go ahead and run in with Bennett, do his Q. I'm gonna switch to Kazuha, do his Q, and E to kind of gather them up. Xiangling's Q is up, and then I'm swapping to Tartaglia. And right off the bat, as you can see with Tartaglia's Q, it already killed 2 of the samurai, and now there's only 1 more for me to go ahead and kill. And I'm paying a lot of attention to the high tide, low tide within this as well, so that way I can make sure to be using all the particles to be able to get it back into Xiangling's Q, so that way I can be able to activate it for a child here. I'm also focusing a lot on Bennett and Kazuha here. Bennett and Kazuha actually have a lot of energy recharge, so they don't have too many problems getting their Qs back. It's mostly Xiangling, even though I have a ton of energy recharge on her. I just want to make sure I'm able to throw that Pyronado out. And as you can see with some of those, I'm able to do, 5k on hit, which is nothing too crazy. But then being able to swap to Tartaglia, go into his melee stance. And since Child's attacks are so fast, that level 1 Pyronado helps him vaporize so much that I was able to do this floor in 1 minute and 6 seconds, which leaves me plenty enough time for my second half team to go in there and be able to get 3 stars on this chamber. So if you're newer to the game, you probably don't have Tartaglia, so I wanted to go ahead and show how to do this with Xing Shou. Pretty much the only thing that changes is instead of Tartaglia being the main DPS on the floor, this switches to Kazuha. And I didn't change any of Kazuha's artifacts or anything like that. It's exactly the same as before. Pretty much what I want to do here is to be able to run Xing Shou's Q with Xiangling's Q at all times, with Kazuha doing normal attacks. But let's go ahead and say you don't have Kazuha either and you were running Sucrose. I wasn't able to try this with Sucrose because she also is not built, as you can see, only level 40. So if you had Sucrose in here, what I would probably do is actually run Bennett as the one who's doing the normal attacking, because he'll probably have the most attack output. But if you actually have your Xiangling leveled up higher than level 40, she can probably do a little bit more in terms of normal attack damage. So Xiangling here might actually be the better normal attacker if you were in that situation. And then obviously using Sucrose just overall to buff with the EM. Okay, so to show you how this team actually works together, I'm gonna go ahead and run in here with Bennett. And something I just learned is that in this chamber specifically, if you run to the left wall, all of the samurai are gonna go ahead and chase you over there. So I run over there to group them all up, and I'm using Bennett's Q, Kazuha, Xiangling, and Xing Shou, just using all their Qs back to back to back to back. And pretty much, as you can see, those samurai are done for. And then I just have the last 2 Kuragi left, and I just go ahead and use the same exact rotation as I did to face those other 3. The main thing is just paying attention to the high tide and low tides. Once it's high tide, I'm just making sure to quick swap between all of my characters, use all of their skills, so that way I can have the Qs ready once it hits low tide, and I'm just doing that same rotation again. And as you can see, just 1 minute and 7 seconds to clear that. Plenty enough time again for my second half team. And I realized I forgot one reason why this team actually works so incredibly well. If you don't know, Xiangling, Bennett, and Xing Shou are what's pretty much referred to as the national team. And one reason Xiangling works so incredibly well with Bennett is, one, because of the Pyro Resonance, which gives you an attack boost, but also because the Pyronado does what's called snapshots. And snapshotting just means that whenever Bennett's Q is down, if you go ahead and use Pyronado, the damage from the Pyronado is going to stay consistent no matter what. And that's even if Bennett's ultimate circle goes away before the Pyronado is done. It's still going to do consistent damage, and the Pyronado is consistently going to stay with that buff from Bennett's ultimate, which adds to the fact of why the Pyronado is so incredibly good. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Xiangling, I actually believe, is an incredible character. I slept on her for way too long. She's actually given to us as a free character, and since she's on the current banner, if you end up getting constellations for her, it's only going to make her even better of a unit. If you get her C4, it actually boosts the duration of Pyronado, which makes her even more busted. So I hope you all have better luck than me on this banner. But that's gonna go ahead and do it. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna go ahead and show you all a showcase using this team throughout my entire Abyss run.
先を風の痛いから我慢しろよ。はっよっ前燃えろ。みんなは俺が守れ。
料理の時
くらえ。はっよっはっせいはっやっ
話が通じないなら
やったほっ全力こ風そこだ。
熱々でしょ。
逃げられるかな。
5番
よっみんなは俺が俺はっせいふっ逃げられるかな。狂乱怒涛。やっ燃えろ前はっへ
熱々でしょ。はっやっ
ふっはっやっ全力こう風の雲
師匠の技を食らいなさ
せよっはっはっはっ隙を見せるのはほんの一瞬。せはっせふっやっはっみんながそばにもみちはちや
5番
兵士はっ風よみんながそばにもみちは散らまく惜しみ。
話が通じないなら
無冠奥義はっよっそれはっやっ風それ錆びこなれそれやはり
かけっこしましょう。それ
みんなは俺が風の雲
歌よに師匠の技を食らいなさ
やっはっ燃えろ
熱々でしょ。
風
それ
せ雨描きがたしみんながそばに風の行く先を無冠奥義
話が通じないなら